And we are now connecting with Mr. Jacek Raubo, who is a defense analyst at Defence24.pl. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And we also have Mariyan K. Sabev, senior security analyst at the Center for the Study of Democracy. Hello, sir. Good morning to you too.
Good morning.
So this $2 billion loan, I believe it will go to Poland purchasing United States military equipment. I believe Abrams tanks, HIMARS, and a bunch of other equipment, F-35 fighter jets. Is it correct, Jacek?
Generally, we see an enlargement of cooperation between the main producers from United States and the Polish armed forces and Polish authorities. And I think it's something which is put in the more holistic picture of whole NATO. We can emphasize words of Joe Biden during the opening remarks of Washington summit, when he underlined that United States need to be placed as a main producer of such equipment and also exporter of such equipment to NATO partners, because this is a kind of a security deal between transatlantic sides of NATO. So this is not only a very pragmatic approach from United States. We see this type of policy toward the different regions, and I think it's a very optimistic sign that U.S. is strengthening a partnership with Poland by sharing some programs which are dedicated to strengthening, of course, the practical side of armed forces with new equipment, with new military equipment, of course, and weaponry. So it is a very short path to act alongside U.S. forces with high interoperability. We know very well this from, for instance, HIMARS initiative or Abrams Academy, and I think it might be a very long-term cooperation formula for both sides.
And now, like Jacek Raubo mentioned, it might be a long-term cooperation, and I feel like there's yet another layer to it. And I wonder, Mariyan Sabev, what do you think about this? Because primarily, of course, the deal is focused on Poland. The agreement, it feels like, also indirectly supports Ukraine by stabilizing the region and ensuring that NATO's eastern border is well defended. But what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I can't agree more with my colleague over there. Indeed, this is a very crucial strategic decision by the US government supporting Poland. Let us remind your audience that Poland is the NATO ally that currently is spending the most of its GDP on defense expense, nearly 4%, which is sometimes twice the amount of funding that the country is spending compared to other NATO allies. Now, the US is sure to support this, to praise this move, and naturally to provide incentives for expanding this expenditure even more. This deal, I think, is a part of these efforts. And let me put the focus on the type of equipment that is going to be provided with these. F-35s are usually reserved for what the US considers really important strategic partners. It doesn't provide this type of equipment to any NATO ally. This once more serves to showcase the really the consideration of Poland as a strategic point in the eastern flank of the alliance.
Right. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine back in 2022, Poland went on what seems like a shopping spree, buying equipment both in the United States, but also South Korea. There were people who were criticizing the then government for not having a clear, cohesive strategy, but rather buying all sorts of different equipment. So my question to Jacek Raubo is whether we see a clear, cohesive strategy and perhaps who will operate all of these, I believe, more than 500 HIMARS launchers.
Truly is a main question for the whole NATO. When we see this type of debate about enlargement of armies, mostly from the numbers of soldiers, we need to deal with the question about the effective education of them, effective training of them, because we will have a very sophisticated weaponry inside our armies. That's why we need to think more about the prognosis of, for instance, the number of troops, the number of education system training. But you need to understand that we are dealing right now with, I think, much more difficult and much more sophisticated situation. Why? Because generally, when we see procurements, we put them into the long-term procedures which are dedicated to strengthen our capabilities and capacity because of planning of, for instance, deterrence and defense in long term. But right now, in 2024, we know very well that we need to act alongside these long-term procedures with some kind of ad hoc procedures. Why? Because Russia decided to change all of the rules inside European security architecture. That's why we need to fulfill a lot of gaps. For instance, air defense and missile defense. This is something which is really visible right now in Washington summit. Another thing, we need to strengthen the numbers of our artillery. We, of course, talk about the missile artillery, but also other forms of, for instance, towed artillery is necessary to put in our armed forces. So first of all, numbers. The second aspect is, of course, this cohesion you made in your remark between our planning and also allied planning of strengthening eastern flank, because Poland is not alone here. We need to see all of our procurements, like F-55, as a strengthening of our cooperation with Baltic states, with Nordic states, with Romania, another pillar of eastern flank. And Romania is also dealing with similar questions about their procurement. So I think it is much more difficult right now from the planet side to have a cohesion between all of the aspects.
Certainly, and we do see that Poland is definitely not alone, and I'm really glad that you mentioned the countries that are partnering in this. Now, let's zoom out ever so slightly and look at this from this perspective, as the loan agreement is a clear signal to Russia, I feel like, and other potential aggressors that NATO is committed to defending its eastern members. So what impact, to your mind, this agreement might have on Russia's strategic calculations regarding NATO? And that question will be for Mariyan Sabev.
If not, this move is giving insights into the potential strategy of deterring on all sides conflict. We know about other deals that are currently being developed or in negotiation. For example, Lithuania's deal for short air missile systems from Sweden. Something else is that Lithuania is also wants to procure man-portable short missile systems from Poland. Bulgaria is in the process of building a couple of new factories for land forces and armed vehicles in this region. So all these moves showcase that the alliance is really preparing the forward deployment that is currently underway further supports all these moves, and they speak to the level of preparation that is envisioned by NATO leaders and is actually supported by the declaration that was published late last night at the end of the first day of the summit, especially when you look at articles 14 and 15 points 14 and 15 of the declaration, you will see certain elements of the strategy that are supported, in fact, by all these deals that we have been discussing this morning.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. The bottom line, I believe, is that the NATO's eastern flank is strengthening, according to the maxim, if you want peace, prepare for war.